When I married Daniel, I believed I had found the kind of man people spend a lifetime searching for. He was charming, hardworking, and always knew exactly what to say to make me feel safe. We weren't rich, but we had plans. We dreamed about buying a bigger house, traveling together, and someday starting a family. Those dreams slowly disappeared, one sacrifice at a time. About 6 months after our wedding, Daniel came home looking completely defeated. He dropped his briefcase by the door and sat silently at the kitchen table. "What's wrong?" I asked. He rubbed his face with both hands. "The business isn't doing well." He owned a small construction company, and although I knew work had slowed down, I had no idea how bad things were. "I've fallen behind on some payments," he admitted quietly. "If I can't catch up soon, I could lose everything." I reached across the table and held his hand. "We'll figure it out." He looked at me with watery eyes. "I hate asking you this, but could you help me? Just until I get back on my feet." I didn't even hesitate. The next morning, I transferred almost every dollar I had saved before our marriage, nearly $18,000. Daniel hugged me so tightly I could barely breathe. "You saved my life," he whispered. At the time, hearing those words made every sacrifice feel worthwhile. I truly believed we were a team. Months turned into years. Every time I thought things were improving, another problem appeared. One month it was unpaid suppliers. The next month it was equipment repairs. Then came tax payments. Then another loan. There was always something. Whenever I asked if we were almost finished paying everything off, Daniel would smile and kiss my forehead. "Just a little longer." That became his favorite sentence. I worked longer hours. I accepted every overtime shift my company offered. On weekends, I freelanced preparing financial reports for small businesses. While my co-workers took vacations, I stayed home. When my friends planned girls' trips, I always made excuses. "We're trying to save money." Eventually, they stopped asking. I drove the same old Honda while everyone around me upgraded their cars. I wore clothes until they nearly fell apart. One Christmas, I secretly wanted to buy myself a necklace I'd admired for months. Daniel noticed me looking at it online. "Maybe next year," he said gently. "Once these debts are finally gone." I smiled. "You're right." I closed the website without another thought. Looking back now, that moment hurts more than I expected. Not because I never got the necklace, but because I genuinely believed we were sacrificing together. Every anniversary became another homemade dinner instead of a celebration. Every birthday gift became smaller. Every dream was postponed. Starting a family. Daniel always had the same answer. "I don't want to bring children into financial problems." I agreed. It sounded responsible. Meanwhile, I watched friends become parents while I convinced myself our time would come. 7 years passed. 7 years of sacrifice. 7 years of believing every word my husband told me. By then, I had contributed well over $200,000 toward what I believed were his business debts. Sometimes I wondered why the debt never seemed to shrink. Whenever I asked to see the business finances, Daniel laughed. "You already deal with numbers all day at work. Don't bring work home." I accepted that answer. I trusted him. Trust can be dangerous when it's given to the wrong person. Everything changed on an ordinary Tuesday afternoon. I was just finishing work when Daniel called. "Hey, can you do me a favor?" "Of course." "I left my laptop charger at home this morning. Could you bring it to my office?" "No problem. I'll probably still be meeting with a client." "I'll leave it on your desk." He thanked me before hanging up. I had visited his office many times before. The receptionist recognized me immediately. "He stepped out for a meeting," she explained. "You can leave it inside." I smiled and walked toward his office. His laptop sat open on the desk. As I plugged in the charger, the screen lit up. A message notification appeared. Normally, I would have looked away. Instead, my eyes landed on a single sentence. "Dinner was perfect tonight. I already miss you. Red Heart Hash." The sender's name was Emily. I frowned. Before I could convince myself it was nothing, another notification appeared. Thank you for paying my rent again. I don't know what we'd do without you. My heart skipped a beat. Paying her rent. Then another message appeared. Sophia keeps asking when her daddy is coming back. Daddy. I froze. My hands suddenly felt numb. There had to be an explanation. Maybe Emily was his sister. Maybe Sophia was his niece. Maybe. I clicked the message thread. The first photo loaded instantly. Daniel stood beside a beautiful blonde woman, his arm wrapped comfortably around her shoulders. In front of them stood a little girl, smiling as she held both of their hands. The caption underneath read, "Our little family vacation. Red heart hash." I couldn't breathe. I kept scrolling. Birthday parties. Christmas mornings. Beach vacations. School events. Photos spanning years. The little girl looked exactly like Daniel. Same smile. Same brown eyes. Same dimples. Tears blurred my vision. No. I whispered the word aloud. Then I reached the messages discussing money. There were screenshots of bank transfers. Apartment rent. Private school tuition. Medical expenses. Designer handbags. Plane tickets. Every payment came from one account. Our joint account. The same account where my overtime pay was deposited every month. The same account I'd spent 7 years filling through endless sacrifice. The business debts. They were never business debts. I had been paying for another woman's life. I had been financing another child's future. With my money. For 7 years. My knees gave out. I collapsed into Daniel's office chair, staring at the screen while tears rolled silently down my face. Every memory suddenly made sense. Every cancelled vacation. Every excuse. Every late night at work. Every anniversary he claimed he was too busy to celebrate. He wasn't working late. He was living another life. A complete second life. My phone slipped from my shaking hand onto the floor. For several minutes, I couldn't move. I couldn't think. The man I had trusted more than anyone had stolen 7 years of my life. Then, through my tears, one thought finally became clear. I couldn't confront him. Not yet. If Daniel realized I knew the truth, he'd have time to hide everything. No. This time, I needed answers before he even knew I was asking questions. I wiped my tears, picked up my phone, and quietly took pictures of every message, every bank transfer, and every photo I could find. Then I closed his laptop exactly the way I'd found it. As I walked out of his office, my heart was breaking. But my plan was just beginning. I drove home that evening with tears blurring my vision, but by the time I pulled into the driveway, I had made one decision. Daniel could never know that I had discovered his secret. Not yet. When he walked through the front door an hour later, he smiled like nothing had happened. "Hey, sweetheart." I forced myself to smile back. "How was your meeting?" "Long," he sighed, hanging up his jacket. "I'm exhausted." The lie rolled off his tongue so effortlessly that it made me sick. Instead of confronting him, I served dinner as if everything were normal. We talked about work, the weather, and weekend plans while I silently replayed the photos I'd seen on his laptop. Every smile, every hug, every family vacation. He had another family. And I'd been paying for it. That night, while Daniel slept peacefully beside me, I stared at the ceiling until sunrise. The next morning, I called my older brother, Michael. "I need your help," I whispered. An hour later, I was sitting in his living room, showing him every screenshot I'd taken. Michael's face grew darker with every swipe. When I finished, he looked me straight in the eyes. "Don't tell him. I want answers." "And you'll get them," he said. "But first, protect yourself." The very next day, I met with a divorce attorney. After reviewing the screenshots, she leaned back in her chair. "This isn't just infidelity," she said. "This could involve financial fraud." Those words shocked me. Over the next few weeks, we quietly gathered every financial document connected to our marriage. The deeper we looked, the worse it became. Daniel had opened multiple credit cards using my information. He had taken out personal loans that I never knew existed. He had forged my electronic signature on refinancing documents for our house. The amount of money connected to his deception was more than $600,000. I couldn't believe the man I'd loved had stolen not only my trust, but my identity. My attorney hired a forensic accountant who traced every dollar. There were rent payments to Emily stretching back nearly 7 years. Private school tuition for Sophia. Luxury vacations. Jewelry. Furniture. Even a down payment on Emily's apartment. Every payment came from accounts funded by my salary. My overtime. My savings. The inheritance my grandmother had left me. I had unknowingly financed another woman's entire life. For nearly a month, I acted like the same loving wife. I cooked dinner. Packed Daniel's lunches. Asked about his day. Meanwhile, my attorney prepared everything. Bank records. Loan documents. Transfer receipts. Screenshots. Photos. It was impossible for Daniel to explain any of it away. Finally, the day arrived. I invited him to dinner at the restaurant where he'd proposed years earlier. He smiled across the table. This is a nice surprise. I thought we deserved one. After dessert, I slid a large envelope toward him. I have something for you. He opened it casually. Within seconds, all the color drained from his face. Divorce papers. Financial reports. Bank statements. Copies of every message with Emily. Photos of Sophia. His hands began shaking. What is this? The truth. He stared at me. I can explain. I folded my arms. Go ahead. It isn't what it looks like. I laughed. It looks exactly like you used my money to support another woman and your daughter. His eyes widened. You know about Sophia? I know everything. Silence filled the table. Finally, he lowered his head. I never wanted to hurt you. But you did. I was going to tell you. When? He couldn't answer. When she graduated high school. Nothing. When we retired. Still nothing. You looked me in the eyes for 7 years, I said quietly. You watched me work overtime until I was exhausted because you claimed your business needed money. I'm sorry. No. I shook my head. You're sorry you got caught. The restaurant had gone quiet. People nearby were pretending not to listen. I stood up. You stole my money. You forged my signature. You lied every single day. Then I placed one final document on the table. A copy of the fraud complaint. His face turned ghost white. You reported me. I protected myself. Without another word, I walked away. I never looked back. Over the next several months, Daniel's carefully built double life collapsed. His construction company lost major clients after the financial investigation became public. Banks launched their own investigations into the forged documents. His professional reputation disappeared almost overnight. The court ordered the sale of our home. Because records clearly showed that most of the money came from my earnings, I received the majority of the remaining assets. Daniel was also ordered to repay debts created through fraud. As for Emily, she contacted me a few weeks later. I didn't know, she said through tears. He told me you were his ex-wife. I believed she had been lied to, too. She wasn't the person who betrayed me. Daniel was. Eventually, she left him after discovering countless lies he'd told both of us. It turned out I wasn't the only woman he'd deceived. A year later, my life looked completely different. I bought a small beach house with large windows overlooking the ocean. It wasn't extravagant. But every payment came from my own hard work. No secrets. No lies. I traveled for the first time in years. I visited places I'd always dreamed about. I laughed without pretending everything was okay. Most importantly, I stopped feeling guilty for spending money on myself. One afternoon, while unpacking boxes in my new home, I found the photo from our wedding. For a moment, I stared at it. The smiling woman in that picture believed love could survive anything. She believed sacrifice always brought happiness. She believed honesty was the foundation of every marriage. I smiled sadly. Then I placed the photo into the fireplace. Some memories aren't worth keeping. As the flames slowly consumed it, I realized something. Daniel hadn't just stolen my money. He'd stolen years of my life. But he hadn't stolen my future. That belonged to me. Today, my savings account is growing again. I finally bought the necklace I'd admired years ago. Not because I needed jewelry to make me happy, but because it reminded me of something important. I no longer needed anyone's permission to enjoy the life I'd worked so hard for. People often ask whether I regret helping my husband all those years. The answer is always the same. I don't regret being kind. I don't regret believing in love. Those qualities were never my weakness. His lies were. The greatest revenge wasn't watching him lose everything. It was rebuilding a life where he no longer had the power to take anything from me. Because the day I stopped paying for his lies was the day I finally started investing in myself.